Welcome to The Explainer. So, if you're a focused learner who's currently staring down the barrel of some massive exams, or, maybe you're totally stressing out about preparing for those intense placement interviews at places like Microsoft, Amazon, or Google, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the architecture of high-efficiency learning.
Now, here's a funny question. Can you study faster legally? It kind of sounds like a joke, right? But it gets right to the heart of this paradox every single student faces. I mean, have you ever felt like you're sitting at your desk for literally endless hours, highlighting pages until your entire textbook is neon, but somehow you retain absolutely nothing? It really feels like some illegal shortcut must exist out there, doesn't it? Well, actually, there are shortcuts, but they're entirely based on optimizing your brain's natural mechanics. And hey, we know this is a universal struggle because the data is absolutely staggering. Over 9.3 million people have actively sought out the 5 core principles of studying more in less time, and that's just from a single viral source. Millions of students and professionals are waking up to the fact that the old way of brute force memorization, it just doesn't work anymore. So you're not alone in the struggle, and there's for sure a verified way out. Okay, let's dive right into this. We have analyzed and synthesized the absolute most viral, highly viewed study strategies in the world. We're talking about strategies that have racked up upwards of 25 million views for demonstrating the absolute fastest way to cover a syllabus. And we've distilled all of that massive data into one actionable, high-efficiency masterclass right here for you. So, here is our roadmap for today. First, mastering timetables. Second, beating procrastination. Third, unlocking high-efficiency memory. And finally, building the ultimate routine. All right, part 1, mastering your timetable. Listen, we absolutely need to move away from chaotic last-minute cramming and shift toward disciplined, strategic time management. That's how you get maximum impact on your GPA. On one side, you've got standard studying, right? Unstructured, open-ended reading where you just say to yourself, well, I'm going to study chemistry all afternoon. Your brain gets bored and your efficiency totally plummets. But on the other side, we have accelerated time blocking. This is where you create strict, focused intervals of high-intensity learning. Honestly, it's the difference between jogging aimlessly and running highly targeted sprints. To make this super concrete, let's look at the 30-minute learning routine. Now, this exact framework is utilized by hyperpolyglots, people who learn up to 12 different languages. It proves that short, intense bursts completely obliterate those marathon study sessions. You break your syllabus down into hyper-specific micro-goals. Then you lock into deep focus for exactly 30 minutes. No phone, zero distractions whatsoever. After that, you take a strategic, strictly timed break. Consistent daily repetition of these blocks is going to accelerate your learning in ways you probably didn't think were possible. Moving on to section 2, beating the procrastination trap. Because here is the ugly truth. A beautifully color-coded timetable on your wall is entirely useless if you literally cannot get yourself to sit down and start. So ask yourself right now, why do you actually procrastinate? Is it fear of failure? Is the task just way too overwhelming? Or, let's be honest, are your phone notifications just too addictive? Shifting from passively watching this explainer to actively identifying your own mental blocks is the very first step to dismantling them. So, here are the 5 proven steps to beat that procrastination dead in its tracks. First, identify your specific friction point. Second, break the task down into ridiculous micro steps, like literally just open the textbook. Third, ruthlessly remove environmental distractions. Fourth, and this one is massive, execute the 21-day challenge. You commit to these micro steps for 21 days straight, and that turns forced, painful discipline into an automatic, effortless habit. And finally, number 5, always, always reward your consistency. All right, section 3, high-efficiency memory and learning. Now that we've managed our time and conquered the friction of actually starting, we need to accelerate how fast our brains absorb and retain the data. And these aren't just generic tips, okay? These are a psychology professor's viral techniques that top students absolutely swear by. First, you must engage in active recall. You have to stop just passively rereading your notes. Force your brain to retrieve the information from scratch. Pair that with spaced repetition, which means reviewing material at increasing intervals over time. And finally, apply critical thinking tools to connect concepts together rather than just trying to memorize isolated facts. Do you think you just have a naturally bad memory? Well, think again. You can actually fix your retention in just 28 minutes. Let's break it down. At minute 0, honestly assess your baseline knowledge. By minute 10, build a visual concept map, linking the new ideas. At minute 20, brutally self-test without looking at the material. And by minute 28, review the gaps and lock in the retention. Seriously, this is an incredibly actionable timeline that turns a weak memory into a steel trap in under half an hour. Which brings us to section 4, sustaining the ultimate routine. Of course, none of those cognitive tricks are going to work if the machine itself is broken. You simply cannot study efficiently if your brain is running on terrible fuel, dehydration, and bad sleep. There's a great quote, "The morning routine that can change your life starts the night before." Medical experts and psychologists emphasize that an optimized morning routine directly impacts your critical thinking and academic performance throughout the entire day. It dictates your baseline energy levels. If you prep your environment and sleep properly, you wake up ready to execute. And speaking of fuel, let's briefly cover the physiological side of learning. To prevent that dreaded afternoon crash, you really need high-quality, non-meat protein. Lentils or dal offer high density for sustained focus. Chickpeas provide steady blood sugar, which totally prevents brain fog. And almonds and nuts, those are absolutely essential for long-term brain health and memory processing. Fueling up with these keeps you incredibly sharp during those intense 30-minute blocks we talked about. Okay, let's bring all of this together into our high-efficiency summary. If you want to study more in less time, here is your definitive checklist. 1. Implement those 30-minute hyper-focus blocks. 2. Attack your procrastination by breaking tasks into ridiculous micro-steps. 3. Shift entirely from passive reading to active recall and spaced repetition. And 4. Fuel your brain with an optimized morning routine and the right sustained energy sources. So I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. It's time to stop endlessly rambling through different study hacks on the internet and just hoping something sticks. Think about these principles we just covered. Which single one are you going to implement today? Now, don't try to change everything all at once. Just pick one strategy right now, apply it to your very next study session, and watch how it completely transforms your efficiency. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.